Imagine a society where the wealthiest people were considered the lowest class. In ancient China, merchants who accumulated fortunes through trade occupied the bottom rung of the social ladder. This paradox shaped Chinese civilization for millennia. To understand this social structure, we must begin with Confucius. His teachings established a moral framework that valued stability and harmony above all else. According to Confucian philosophy, society functioned best when everyone knew their place. Confucius divided society into four classes: scholars at the top, followed by farmers, then artisans, and finally merchants at the bottom. This wasn't just about occupation, it was a moral hierarchy. Each class contributed to society in specific ways. Farmers were highly valued because they produced the food that sustained the population. Their work was seen as fundamental to society's survival. Agriculture represented stability and connection to the land. Artisans created essential goods, tools, pottery, textiles. Their skills were tangible contributions to material culture. But merchants, they merely moved goods from one place to another without creating anything new. The fundamental objection to merchants was philosophical. Confucianism emphasized moral cultivation and service to society. Merchants were seen as selfish, profiting from others' labor without contributing productive work themselves. This wasn't just philosophical preference, it became official policy. During the Han Dynasty, Emperor Wu implemented laws specifically targeting merchants. They faced higher taxes, restrictions on land ownership, and social discrimination. Merchants couldn't wear silk clothing, ride in carriages, or hold government positions. Their children were barred from taking imperial examinations, the primary path to social mobility. These restrictions reinforced their low status across generations. The legalist philosophy that influenced many dynasties viewed merchants with particular suspicion. Legalists believed in strict state control of the economy. Merchants represented private wealth that could challenge state authority. Consider the salt and iron monopolies established during the Han Dynasty. The state controlled these essential commodities, preventing merchants from profiting from them. This was economic policy designed to limit merchant power. Merchants were accused of creating artificial scarcity, hoarding goods to drive up prices. During famines, this made them particularly unpopular. They were seen as profiting from others' suffering. There was also a deep cultural suspicion of mobility. Farmers were rooted to their land, a virtue in an agricultural society. Merchants traveled constantly, which made them seem unreliable and potentially disruptive. The imperial examination system reinforced this hierarchy. Scholars who passed exams gained prestige and power, but merchants' children were excluded, creating a glass ceiling that kept commercial families from entering the elite. Yet despite these restrictions, some merchants became incredibly wealthy. They found loopholes, investing in land through family members or funding scholars who might later help them. Wealth and status didn't always align. During the Tang Dynasty, commerce flourished along the Silk Road. Foreign merchants brought goods from across Asia, yet even successful merchants faced social limitations. Wealth didn't erase their low status. The Song Dynasty saw unprecedented commercial growth. Paper money, banking systems, and vibrant urban markets developed. But merchants remained socially inferior. Their economic importance didn't translate to respect. Ming Dynasty founder Hongwu Emperor reinforced anti-merchant policies. He limited how much land merchants could own and restricted their movement. The message was clear: commerce served the state, not the other way around. Merchants developed their own subculture. They created guilds for protection and support. Some embraced Buddhism or Taoism, which were less rigid about social status than Confucianism. The scholar-official class viewed merchants with particular contempt. Scholars saw themselves as morally superior, devoted to study and public service. Merchants represented greed and materialism. This prejudice extended to popular culture. Operas and stories often portrayed merchants as greedy villains. They were comic figures or antagonists, rarely heroes. This reinforced negative stereotypes. Yet merchants played crucial economic roles. They distributed goods across vast distances, funded infrastructure projects, and provided credit. Their work was essential, even if undervalued. Some dynasties recognized this contradiction. During the late Ming, attitudes began to soften slightly. Practical needs sometimes overcame ideological prejudice, especially when the state needed merchant wealth. The Qing dynasty continued restrictive policies, but also saw merchant influence grow. The Canton system controlled foreign trade through licensed merchants. These Han merchants gained wealth, but still faced social limitations. Merchant families developed strategies to improve their status. They married daughters to scholar families, donated to temples and public works, and educated sons in Confucian classics, hoping to eventually enter the elite. The imperial state's ambivalence toward merchants reflected a deeper tension. Commerce generated wealth and tax revenue, but also threatened social stability. Merchants embodied capitalism before its time. Compare China to medieval Europe, where merchants gained political power through city-states and guilds. In China, the centralized state always maintained control. Merchants never achieved similar autonomy. This social structure had lasting consequences. It may have contributed to China not developing industrial capitalism earlier. Commercial innovation was stifled by social prejudice and state control. The low status of merchants also affected gender roles. Merchant wives often managed businesses while their husbands traveled. This gave some women unusual economic authority within strict limits. By the 19th century, Western pressure forced China to open to foreign trade. Chinese merchants became intermediaries between Western businesses and Chinese markets. Their role expanded, but old prejudices lingered. The fall of the Qing dynasty in 1912 ended the imperial examination system. New opportunities emerged. Yet merchant families still faced suspicion from both traditional elites and revolutionary movements. Mao Zedong's communist revolution initially targeted merchants as capitalist roaders. The old Confucian suspicion of commerce found new expression in Marxist ideology. History repeated in different form. Today, China embraces market economics. Successful entrepreneurs are celebrated, yet echoes of the past remain: the tension between commerce and social values, between wealth creation and moral cultivation. The story of merchants in ancient China reveals deeper truths about Chinese civilization. It shows how values shape economics, how ideology influences social structure, and how societies balance tradition with change. Merchants were the lowest class not because they were poor, but because their wealth threatened social harmony. In a society that valued stability above all, those who profited from change were viewed with deep suspicion. This prejudice lasted millennia, shaping China's economic development in profound ways. It's a reminder that social status isn't just about wealth. It's about values, power, and a society's deepest beliefs about what matters most. From Confucian philosophy to imperial policy, the low status of merchants reveals how ancient China balanced economic needs with social stability. Their story helps us understand not just history, but the enduring tensions in any society between commerce and community.